Now at 5, a deadly shooting in Carmel. 2 people killed. What police are telling us about what happened.
Patients can remain positive for weeks following the infection.
COVID-19 survivors claiming it takes a while for their test results to come back negative long after they feel better. What you need to know to keep those around you safe.
Heartbreaking, and it's also humbling because we are reminded that we could be in that situation.
The need for rental assistance continues for thousands in our area. How one church is stepping up to help.
This is RTV6 News at 5, working for you.
We begin now at 5 with our eyes on the radar. Thunderstorms erupting with the afternoon heat and humidity.
And those storms are packing some very strong winds, as you can see here in this video. Just take a look at this scene in Brownsburg this afternoon, blowing a playhouse across the yard. IPL is reporting about 19,000 customers without power, mainly across the north half of the city from west to east. Storm Team 6 Chief Meteorologist Kevin Gregory is tracking all of this for us tonight. Kevin.
We've had some definite 50 to 60 mile per hour wind gusts. Here's another view once the storm entered Marion County. This is along Emerson Avenue, southeast side, Beech Grove, just about 465. Torrential rainfall and wind gusts, as we mentioned, between 50 and 60. Officially at the airport, 52, the peak gust, but I saw out in Avon along 36 and 465, wind gust of 59 miles per hour. Where are the strongest storms right now? In Rush and northern portions of Decatur County. The warning in effect until 5:30 in the evening. All of this is just rain, no severe weather here. This is where you get the punch of wind out ahead of the rain. The strongest storms now from Rushville down to around Greensburg, pushing to the east. You'll get that blast of wind, potentially as much as 60 miles per hour ahead of the heavy rain. Obviously, if you have patio furniture, any kind of umbrella for shade, you want to put that away. Greensburg, Connorsville, Richmond, Hagerstown, out ahead of this line of storms, which is the strongest. There's your beneficial rain. It doesn't rain in any one spot very long, though, as these storms are moving to the east at about 40. 75 degrees. You know, we were at 90 earlier. We had heat index values around 100. This is one way to cool us off. We'll talk about a more permanent way coming up.
And tonight, Carmel police are investigating a shooting that left 2 people dead and 1 injured. It happened in the Spring Creek neighborhood, and RTV6's Stephanie Wade has been on the scene all day and joins us now with the latest.
It was around 8 o'clock this morning when the call came in for shots fired near Rippling Brookway and Creek Bend Drive just behind me here. According to police, 1 victim and 1 suspect are dead. A second victim was taken to the hospital with injuries. Right now, police are investigating multiple crime scenes, they say, throughout this neighborhood. We know a Carmel police officer who responded to the shooting fired their weapon. We don't know if the officer did, in fact, shoot the suspect or not, or how many times the officer fired their weapon. But the officer was not injured. Police could not say yet if the people involved are related, how old they are, or what might have caused this. But there is no further threat to the public at this time. We will keep you updated as information is released. Reporting in Carmel, Stephanie Wade, RTV6.
And anyone with info about the shooting should call the Carmel Police Department's non-emergency number at 317-571-2580 and request to speak with an officer. And Metro Police are also investigating a deadly overnight shooting on the west side. This happened around 12:30 this morning on West Morris Street near the interchange of I-70 and Holt Road. Police at the scene told RTV6 an ex-boyfriend was fighting with a woman's new boyfriend when shots were fired. The ex-boyfriend was able to go to a nearby gas station to call 911. He was taken to the hospital in critical condition. The new boyfriend died at the hospital.
Now to the latest on the spread of coronavirus here in Indiana as the state mask mandate takes effect. The state reported 3 additional deaths today that occurred between Friday and yesterday. That brings the statewide total to 2,709. You can see from this chart that the numbers have been up and down throughout the past 6 days. 561 more Hoosiers tested positive. Those results all recorded yesterday. That brings the statewide total to 62,907. The state has an overall positivity rate of 8.9% at this point. And a big step forward in developing a treatment for coronavirus. The world's biggest COVID-19 vaccine test started today with the first of 30,000 planned volunteers in 30 states and the District of Columbia. Indiana is not one of those states. This is phase 3 testing. The experimental vaccine is made by the National Institutes of Health and Moderna, Inc. It is one of several candidates in the final stretch of the global vaccine race. The needed proof? Whether more people who get the dummy shots become infected than those given 2 doses of the real vaccine. Some COVID-19 survivors are telling RTV6 they tested positive long after their symptoms stopped. RTV6's Troy Washington is digging into this and explains how long you can still receive positive test results and whether you can be reinfected with COVID.
Ronald Smith took to Facebook to tell his friends about his bout with COVID-19.
I was sick from the 10th, maybe until like the 19th. That's when my symptoms started breaking.
He says the nightmare started in June, but here it is, the end of July, that he's finally feeling some relief.
I finally went this past Friday, and they were like, yeah, you're clear, finally. So it was a total of almost like 44, 45 days.
He says he took multiple COVID-19 tests long after the symptoms were gone and kept testing positive.
This is not a joke. I'd rather people stay home. I have been constantly urging my friends, please do not, because you don't want it.
Experts say it's possible to test positive long after recovering from COVID-19.
Patients can remain positive for weeks following the infection. And in fact, there's the Korean CDC report that patients were positive up to 80 days.
After recovery, the expert we spoke to says once a person is no longer showing symptoms of the virus, like a fever, the person is likely no longer contagious, even though the virus might still show up in a test. The CDC suggests quarantining for 10 days after the symptoms are gone.
Once I had got it this one time, that was it. I am no more out.
According to the CDC, there are 7 different strains of the coronavirus. Smith tells us he's afraid of catching the disease again. The expert we spoke to says despite multiple strains, there's not enough research yet to say whether or not a person can be infected by the virus again.
Now, in terms of the reinfection possibility, this is something that we truly don't know, as we're learning a lot from this virus as we go.
Working for you, Troy Washington, RTV6.
Troy, thank you. Currently, IU Health is using 2 medications to help treat patients battling COVID-19. One of the approved medications speeds up recovery by up to 4 days, and the other is believed to help those facing prolonged symptoms. More information on those drugs is available right now at our website, theindychannel.com.
A statewide mask mandate to help stop the spread of coronavirus is now in effect in Indiana. It lasts until at least August 26th. Only on RTV6, we're talking to one of the top doctors guiding the nation's response to the pandemic about that mandate. Dr. Deborah Birx, who is on the White House Coronavirus Task Force, agreed to an interview with RTV6. She traveled to Indiana on Friday with Vice President Pence. RTV6's Rafael Sanchez had a chance to discuss a number of issues with her, including the new mask mandate. It's something many people believe in wholeheartedly, while others don't feel it's effective.
Will wearing masks in any way help the slow of the spread of COVID-19?
What a great question, and we are so pleased with the governor's action, because what we have discovered over the last few months is how effective masks are.
Early on, the CDC did not recommend mask wearing, and so they say, look, back in March and April, they didn't talk about this, so why is it that this is important now?
Well, we've learned a lot. So we are not traditionally a mask-wearing culture. There are cultures around the world that have always worn masks and believe in masks. They've worn them for pollution, or they've worn them for infectious diseases, and they believe in masks. Americans have never had to embrace masks. But now we know both the physics. There's clear physics and science behind trapping the particles in your mask. And then I gave you the real life examples. So I think we've learned from the beginning of this epidemic to now, and the American people should actually be very happy that we can change guidance based on new information.
And coming up on the news at 6, Dr. Birx discusses the reopening of schools and what the science says.
Thousands of people in our area are having a tough time paying their rent, and when that $600 a week unemployment benefit runs out this week, making rent could be even more of a struggle. RTV6's Megan Santorum explains how one church is working together and trying to reach out to people to help them keep their homes.
As the end of another month approaches, thousands are stuck wondering how they're going to pay their rent.
My income went from normal to 50%.
This Marion County woman asked not to be identified, but she says the pandemic has impacted her hours and income, and getting rental assistance from government programs isn't happening for her.
Still right over the limit of income to where I wouldn't get assistance for those things because I still was having money coming in.
She tells us she's gotten rid of her car and made other sacrifices, but she still wasn't able to pay rent, and she's not alone.
We've seen many families not knowing what their next option is.
Pastor Nicole Caldwell-Gross here at St. Luke's on West 86th says they've been able to help this woman and hundreds of others with rent and utility payments, and it's all thanks to donations.
We had a very generous member of our church who anonymously donated $50,000 with the condition that our congregation match that donation. And so then we were able to raise over $100,000 for rental and utility assistance.
The church will continue to work with the community and help those they can. Those receiving the help here are encouraging others to keep searching for resources because they say help like this is out there.
It's really the main thing that matters, right? That we have a home and that we have food too. So between those two, I feel blessed to be able to have that.
Working for you, Megan Santorum, RTV6.
If you need help paying your rent, head to our website, theindychannel.com. We have information there on state and county programs, as well as others like this church. Still ahead here at 5 o'clock, going safely back to school. Resources you may not know about if your child will be attending classes virtually. Another IndyCar race at IMS is added to this year's schedule. One of 3 new doubleheader weekends just announced to make up for canceled races. Kevin.
And the forecast focus right now on thunderstorms, a few severe with damaging wind potential from Greensburg to Rushville. They'll roll through Connorsville. That's not all for the rain. When the humidity will break as well, coming up.
All this week, RTV6 is putting the focus on ways to safely return to school. For some Hoosier children, that means they'll be going to class online. RTV6's Kelsey Anderson joins us with resources that will help you and your family navigate a virtual classroom.
The Indianapolis Public Library has tons of resources for students, parents, and teachers to utilize during virtual learning. They have free books and tons of online materials that can help keep everyone engaged in learning. For families that don't have internet access, you can use theirs free of charge. But if you aren't ready to venture out into public, the library has hundreds of resources like ebooks, audiobooks, and even videos to stream or download. CEO Jackie Needis says they are doing everything to keep the library safe for you.
Our library buildings are very, very safe. We are monitoring the number of people in our buildings. We have aggressive cleaning. We actually quarantine any materials returned to the library for 72 hours to make sure that there is no transmission of any virus coming out of our place.
The good news is most kids who go to school in Marion County already have library cards to the Indianapolis Public Library. The library does also have a blog where you can get ideas on books, experiments, games, and links to help kids with their homework. I've linked a ton of the resources available to you over on the RTV6 News app, but some of those resources do require a library card. You can easily get that at indypl.org. I'm Kelsey Anderson, RTV6.
And you will find all on our special stories this week about returning to school safely at the indychannel.com/rebound/keeping you safe. More changes to the IndyCar schedule due to coronavirus, and it means another race at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. 3 events already scheduled on the calendar will now become doubleheader weekends. The first doubleheader will be at Mid-Ohio on Saturday and Sunday, August 8th and 9th. There will be back-to-back races on the oval at the Worldwide Technology Raceway near St. Louis on August 29th and 30th. And the Harvest Grand Prix at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway in October will become a 2-day event on the road course on Friday, October 2nd and Saturday, October 3rd. The doubleheaders replace canceled races at Portland and Laguna Seca.
Well, the race today was to get out ahead of the thunderstorms and strong winds. That humidity was incredible early in the day. Would you agree? I think you're nodding your head. 91 the high. We had a heat index right at 100 degrees through much of central Indiana, and then the thunderstorms erupted. We still have 1 thunderstorm warning here. That's for the next 13 minutes. Rush County, northern portions then of Decatur County, roughly Rushville to Greensburg to the bottom of the hour as the storms rolled through Shelbyville. 60-mile-per-hour wind registered at the airport in Shelbyville. That's why the warning's in effect. As this crosses 52, heads toward Connorsville, Liberty, Brookville Reservoir, everybody should be off of there as the storms approach. And again, you'll see the strongest wind before you see the rain. Batesville about ready to have that big, strong push of wind. Lots of lightning sitting between Richmond and Winchester as these storms push into the Buckeye State and leave Wayne County. It'll be a little bit, though. They just cleared Newcastle. Here's your general rain. We'd love for this to sit around for a while. We could use the rainfall. It's not a large area, but we'll take it. From Frankfort to Lebanon, Lafayette up to Kokomo, then to Noblesville. No severe weather within that band. Until the cold front goes through, we've still got a chance for more rain. Look at the impact on temperatures. Keep in mind, we were in the low 90s just about everywhere before the rain started. After 1, 2 o'clock, thunderstorms erupting and putting temperatures back in the 70s. Well, it looks pretty green downtown in spots, as you can see, looking to the west and the veil of cloud cover. The storms that are of strength are all off to the east. 7 o'clock, notice this little band here. There's possible right along the cold front, we generate some additional showers and thunder showers, and then it's an abrupt end to the rain activity as we go through the overnight. As always, don't forget, we've got our Storm Shield app. It is free. It's a weather radio for your phone. You'll get the alarm going off right to your phone. And it is free. That's number 1. Tomorrow, lower humidity. There's a headline for you. Temperatures close to the mid-80s. Lots of sunshine around, and the wind will come around to the northwest. It will be refreshing compared to where we were at today. Dry tomorrow, and also dry Wednesday. Next opportunity for more widespread thunderstorms. That returns on Thursday. 82 degrees Thursday. We're consistently in the low 80s or around 80 degrees for highs Friday through the weekend. We've also got that low daily chance for thunderstorms in that 30 to 40% probability each day through the weekend. Mark?
Kevin, thank you. Right now, honoring the life of John Lewis, the civil rights legend and congressman who died this month at the age of 80. You're looking live at the U.S. Capitol Rotunda, where his body was taken earlier today and is now lying in state. It is a special honor reserved for America's most prominent leaders. ABC's Rena Roy reports tonight from Washington.
The body of John Lewis was led by police escort on a touching farewell tour of some of Washington's most iconic landmarks, the Martin Luther King Memorial, the National Museum of African American History, and Black Lives Matter Plaza, where he made one of his last public appearances. A final journey through the nation's capital before lying in state at the Capitol Rotunda.
Here in Congress, John was revered and beloved on both sides of the aisle, on both sides of the Capitol.
The civil rights icon represented Georgia in the House for more than 30 years, where today lawmakers in the lower chamber unanimously voted to rename a voting rights bill after him, a fitting tribute for the man credited with changing history.
Today, we pray and trust that this peacemaker himself now rests in peace.
Both former Vice President Biden and Vice President Pence are expected to pay their respects as Lewis lies in state. However, President Trump says he will not. The two had a contentious relationship. Lewis skipped Trump's inaugural address and each of his State of the Union addresses except this year's.
In Lewis's home state of Alabama, red rose petals scattered on the Edmund Pettus Bridge, where he marched and bled for the right to vote on March 7th, 1965. The date later became known as Bloody Sunday. This past Sunday, he crossed that bridge one last time. Lewis returned to the bridge in Selma year after year, bringing bipartisan delegations with him, most notably in 2015 with President Obama, who credited Lewis with helping to make his presidency possible. Lewis wasn't just a powerful advocate for African American rights, he was widely admired because of his principled stand for justice for all groups, including for the rights of LGBTQ Americans, the parents and children of immigrants held in camps while seeking asylum, and for the many victims of gun violence in America. Lewis's body will be taken outside of the Capitol tomorrow, where he will lie in state, and people can pay their respects while still staying safe during the coronavirus pandemic. Rena Roy, ABC News, Washington.
ABC and RTV6 are also planning live coverage of Lewis's funeral Thursday in Atlanta. Coverage is scheduled to begin around 10:45 in the morning.
Another big name retailer is saying no in-store shopping on Thanksgiving and stay home and enjoy the turkey, when sales will start to make up for the change. Target is now joining Walmart in closing their stores on Thanksgiving Day this year. Target says this is not a year for crowds, so in addition to closing on Thanksgiving Day, when many people get a jump on Black Friday shopping, they will be starting their holiday deals in October. Those deals will be available online and in store before and after Thanksgiving, so you can avoid long lines and shop when you want. And still ahead on the news at 5:30, tracking strong thunderstorms rolling across Indiana. Kevin will rejoin us to bring us the very latest on their path.